sitting here for 3 hours, staring at a blank screen, trying to find the words. But there are no words for what I saw. There are no words for what's happening to me. So I'm just going to say it. And I'm going to say it fast before I lose my nerve. I'm 34 years old. I haven't believed in monsters under the bed since I was 6. But something has been living under my bed for the past 3 months. And I'm telling you now because I don't think I'm going to survive the night. It started in July. I woke up at 3 a.m., exactly 3. I checked the clock. And I heard a scratching sound. Not a mouse. Not the house settling. It was a slow, deliberate scratching, like fingernails dragging across wood. It was coming from beneath my bed. I lay there frozen for what felt like an hour. The scratching would stop for a minute, then start again. Always in the same rhythm. Scrape, scrape, scrape. 3 scratches, then silence. 3 scratches, then silence. I told myself it was nothing. Old house, old floors. I fell back asleep eventually. The next night, the same thing. 3 a.m., 3 scratches. Silence. 3 scratches. I sat up this time. I stared at the gap between the bottom of the bed frame and the floor. It was dark. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel something. A coldness, a weight, like something was down there looking up at me. I turned on the bedside lamp. Nothing. I leaned over, my heart pounding, and looked under the bed. Empty. Just dust and an old shoe. I felt stupid. I laughed at myself. I went back to sleep. The scratches continued every night for a week. Always at 3 a.m., always 3 scratches. I started to get used to it. Almost. I told myself it was just the house. Just old wood. But in the back of my mind, I knew it wasn't the house. On the 8th night, I woke up at 3 a.m., and there were no scratches. Instead, I heard breathing. Slow, heavy breathing. Coming from under the bed. I didn't move. I couldn't. The breathing was thick, wet, like something with a chest full of fluid. It would inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 4. A rhythm, a pattern. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to this thing breathe beneath me. And then it stopped. The silence that followed was worse. I slept with the lights on after that. Every night. The scratches stopped. The breathing stopped. I started to relax. Then the dreams started. In the dreams, I was lying in my bed, awake, just like reality. But the room was darker, the shadows were deeper, and I knew with absolute certainty that if I looked under the bed, I would see it. I never did. In the dreams, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, my eyes fixed on the ceiling, while something moved in the darkness below me. I could feel it crawling up the side of the bed. I could feel its weight on the mattress. I could feel it breathing on my face. And then I would wake up, gasping, alone. The dreams came every night. I stopped sleeping. I'd lie in bed, exhausted, but terrified to close my eyes. I'd stare at the ceiling, counting the seconds until morning, and every night at 3 a.m. I'd hear it. Not scratches, not breathing. A voice. It was a whisper, so quiet I couldn't tell if it was real or in my head. It said my name, Oliver, over and over. Oliver, Oliver, Oliver. My name is not Oliver. That's what terrified me more than anything. It wasn't calling me. It was calling someone else. Someone who used to live here. Someone it was waiting for. I moved my bed. I pulled it away from the wall, took off the frame, put the mattress directly on the floor. No gap. Nothing underneath. I slept on the couch for a week. I was fine. I started to think it was over. Then one night, I felt something brush against my foot. I was on the couch. My feet were hanging off the edge. Something cold, dry, and long had touched my bare skin. I jerked my legs up, scrambled to the other end of the couch, and stared into the darkness beneath the coffee table. Nothing. But there was a smell. A smell I hadn't noticed before. It was faint, like rotting meat, but with something else underneath. Something sweet. Something that made my stomach turn. I got up, turned on all the lights, and searched the apartment. Every closet, every corner. Nothing. I checked under the couch, under the bed, under every piece of furniture. Nothing. But the smell lingered. It clung to the floorboards, to the walls, to the air itself. I called a friend. I told him I thought there was something in the apartment. He came over, searched the place, found nothing. He said I needed to get out, see a doctor, get some sleep. He was right. I was exhausted. I was paranoid. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night for 2 weeks. I stayed at his place for 3 days. I slept, I ate. I felt human again. I told myself it was all in my head. Sleep deprivation, stress. I went back to my apartment feeling almost normal. The first night back, I slept in my bed. The mattress was still on the floor. No gap. Nothing underneath. I closed my eyes. I fell asleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. I don't know what woke me. There was no sound, no smell, no voice. I was just awake. I lay there, still, listening. Nothing. Then I felt it. Something was under me. Not under the bed, under the mattress. I could feel it pressing up against the bottom of the mattress, pushing against my back. A shape, a long, thin shape that stretched from the head of the mattress to the foot. I could feel the outline of it through the foam. Arms, legs, a torso. Something was inside my mattress. Something that had been there the whole time. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I lay there, feeling this thing shift beneath me. It was moving slowly, like it was turning over. I felt its shoulder blades press into my spine. I felt the curve of a skull against the back of my head. And then I felt it reach up, through the mattress, through the foam and the fabric. I felt fingers, long, cold, with too many joints touching the back of my neck. They were gentle at first, almost curious. Then they wrapped around my throat. I screamed. I rolled off the mattress, scrambled across the floor, and grabbed the lamp. I smashed it against the mattress. Nothing. I tore the sheets off. Nothing. I flipped the mattress over. There was a hole in the bottom. A dark, wet hole, about the size of a human head. The edges were torn, like something had ripped through from the inside. And the smell was overwhelming. Rot, sweetness, and something else. Something that made my eyes water and my throat close up. I dragged the mattress out of my apartment. I left it in the dumpster. I bought a new mattress. I slept with the lights on. I didn't hear anything for a week. I thought maybe it was gone. Maybe it had left with the old mattress. And I woke up one night and I was on the floor. I don't know how I got there. I was lying on my stomach, my face pressed against the floorboards, and I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. I could feel something standing over me. I could feel its weight on my back, pressing me down, and I could hear it breathing. That same thick, wet breathing, right next to my ear. I tried to turn my head. I couldn't. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. And then I heard the voice. Not a whisper this time. A voice, low and rough, like gravel grinding together. It said, "We've been together this whole time. You just never looked in the right place." I felt something cold slide across my cheek. A finger, then another. They traced the line of my jaw, my lips, my eyelids, and then they stopped. The weight lifted, the breathing stopped. I lay there, gasping, for an hour before I could move. That was 2 nights ago. Last night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the middle of the room, back against the wall, watching. Nothing happened, but I noticed something. The floorboards. In the center of the room, where my bed used to be, the floorboards were moving, just slightly, rising and falling, like something was breathing beneath them. I'm leaving tonight. I'm packing a bag and I'm leaving. I don't care where I go. I just need to get out of this apartment. But here's the thing. As I was packing, I looked in the mirror and I saw something on my back. I took my shirt off and looked over my shoulder. There are marks on my skin, long, thin lines running down my spine. They look like scratches, but they're not scratches. They're words, written into my skin like someone carved them from the inside. It says, "You're taking me with you." I can't stop crying. I can't stop shaking, because I just realized something. The scratches, the breathing, the voice. It was never under the bed. It was never under the mattress. It was under my skin. It's been inside me this whole time. And and I only have one question.